Good afternoon. I'm Jillian, pleased to virtually meet you. I'm with Turning Point Counseling. We're a collective of social workers and mental health professionals with a private practice here in Collingwood. We feel very privileged to be one of the sponsors for the Town of Collingwood's International Women's Day event this year. In particular, we're grateful for the opportunity to be able to directly support My Friend's House and the critical work they're doing in our community, perhaps now more than ever. As social workers, we recognize the intersectionality of gender with this pandemic. We understand the implications for gender-based violence, as well as social and economic insecurity and women's mental health. As social workers, we also share in the values and the mission statement of International Women's Day. We too believe that through challenge comes change, and that collectively we can work together to fight against gender-based inequality in our community. But March 8th, today, International Women's Day, is also about celebration. It's about recognizing women's achievements, and in particular this year, women's achievements in leadership. We're certainly going to hear from a phenomenal group of women on the panel today, and at Turning Point, we feel very grateful and fortunate to be part of this talented and inspired group of women. Thank you, Collingwood, and happy International Women's Day.
You're broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, we gon' walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, I like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. The silence isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Move mountains, bring it to its feet. Move.
Sometimes the storms of life come out of nowhere. They sweep us off our feet and they catch us off guard. But we can handle it because we're brave. We are not afraid of challenge. We're willing to suit up, and we will show up. Again and again, day after day. We will do whatever it takes to get through this. And we will dig even deeper if we need to get to the other side. And whether we find ourselves fighting this fight by staying home or fighting it by suiting up and going into battle, there is one constant that is always there. Through thick and thin, that one place that we can depend on. That place built on a solid foundation. The place that invites us to hang our hat after a long day. The place where we can let down our guard and recharge our batteries to do it all again tomorrow. It's that one special place. The special place we can all be proud to call home. The special place we are proud to design and build. Home.
Every 6 days, domestic violence kills a woman in Canada. Globally, 30,000 women die annually of domestic violence. The pandemic is increasing these numbers significantly. Very disturbing facts. Domestic violence does not discriminate. It affects women of every age, culture, skin color, socioeconomic level, and mental or physical ability. My hope is to bring awareness and raise funds for women's shelters, particularly as they have been hit hard during COVID-19's reign. As a past board member of a women's shelter, I know that fundraising is a critical part of helping women get the shelter and support they need. Right now, they need you. The following video expresses female empowered voices reciting the poem She Is from the book Lonely Kings and Queens. She Is showcases women in all their beauty and strength. My name is Julie Steves Benson. I am the author of She Is. Together, let's remove the mask of domestic abuse. Please join us in celebrating women.
She is the river that winds through mountains. The waterfall cascading in the valley of dreams.
She is the whisper in the wind that cradles a bruised heart.
She is the calm in the storm.
The gentle surrender at dusk.
The passion in moonlight.
Her touch, the salve for the wounded.
The help for the helpless, the hand in the reach.
She is the earth that you walk.
The fire you ignite.
The trust you need.
She is desire. She is the thirst in your veins.
A beacon of light for your soul.
The sweat on your brow.
The pressure in your groin. The breath in your sighs.
The caress of love.
She is.
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 Is that what did I say?
I'm going to start. We can do other lines. It's okay. Let's try that one more time though.
Or at least I try to.
She is the river that winds through mountains.
Again, I'm gonna laugh because it's the eyes.
It's okay.
Okay.
You just don't want to
Did I
say
do it
valley,
right?
do you?
I need the lines across the screen.
We're not rewriting it.
Hi, I'm Julie LeBlanc.
event and volunteer manager with my friend's house here in Collingwood, serving the South Georgian Bay. We want to wish you all a very happy International Women's Day and join you in the Choose to Challenge campaign. So please raise your hand, take to social media, and challenge all those inequalities that have been troublesome all these years, and now we're going to stand up. This is a community that gets together for the very best kinds of events, and I can't imagine a better one. I choose to challenge inequality, and I'm joining you in wishing you all a very happy International Women's Day.
I will believe when none believe you. I'll take you in when none will take you on. I will be strong so you don't have to. This ain't a house, this is your home. I won't say that it seems strange that you can't say when it all changed and something wrong turned into something more. And I won't care what others say about how I got to be this way or why you never came to me before. There's a time to figure out what makes a man. There's a line, and it's drawn deep along the sand. I will believe when none believe you. I'll take you in when none will take you on. I will be strong so you don't have to. This ain't a house, this is your home. This ain't a house, this is your home.
Tried to speak, made no noise. Watch other people make your choice. Wondered what life's like when it's your home.
If there's a war, I'll take a side. If there's a door, I'll kick it wide. I'll be there when all the rest are gone. There's a time to figure out what makes a man, and there's a line, and it's drawn deep along the sand. I will believe when none believe you. I'll take you in when none will take you on. I will be strong so you don't have to. This ain't a house, this is your home. This ain't a house, this is your home. No more tears, no more fights, no more broken sleepless nights. Leave it all, you can count on me.
I will believe when none believe you. I'll take you in
When none will take you on, I will be strong so you don't have to. This ain't a house, this is your home. This ain't a house, this is your home. This ain't a house, this is your home. This ain't a house, this ain't a house, this is your home. This is your home. This is your home. This is your home.
What a powerful song. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Collingwood's International Women's Day 2021 celebration, the third annual event. Thank you for joining us today. This year's theme is Choose to Challenge, and we are extremely excited to have an exceptional panel of local and international women to share their remarkable and inspirational stories and thoughts with us. I want to acknowledge that Collingwood is located on the traditional territory of the Indigenous peoples of Turtle Island, including the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Ojibwe peoples, and on lands connected with the Lake Simcoe Nottawasaga Treaty of 1818. This is the home of a diverse range of Indigenous peoples whom we recognize as contemporary stewards of the land and vital contributors to our society. And because we are connecting virtually today with people from across the province, the country, and the globe, I encourage those in other regions to acknowledge the traditional lands of the local Indigenous peoples. We are very pleased today to welcome two panelists and a number of attendees from Jordan through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Jordan Municipal Support Project. The mandate of the project is to support Jordanian municipalities through improved municipal services and to promote social cohesion through inclusive community engagement. The Jordan Municipal Support Project is a 5-year FCM initiative in collaboration with Jordan's Municipality of Local Administration, 12 Jordanian municipalities, and funded by Global Services Canada. We are looking forward to hearing from our Jordanian panelists, Hadil Kawasani and Hayam Al-Kazi, and a special welcome to both of them and our Jordanian attendees. Our moderator today is Jill Proud. Jill is the creator and founder of the Vital Visionary Method, a leadership process to elevate women leaders and their teams to the next level. Jill believes that vital visionaries will be the difference makers to our future. From seasoned entrepreneurs with multi-million-dollar businesses to leaders stepping into CEO roles to Olympic athletes preparing to compete on the world stage, Jill has had the honor and pleasure to support their elevation. In Jill's words, a leader who is consciously tuned into their own power and is clear on how they will empower others is a leader who will both achieve and deeply experience true success. Jill was a panelist for our inaugural International Women's Day event in 2019, and we're excited to have her today as our moderator. My last official role is to introduce our next speaker, Claudia Ferrero, Collingwood's second Poet Laureate. Claudia is a poet, writer, student, and advocate for the environment. She has had her poetry displayed at the Dalhousie Art Gallery and published in Fathom, a literary magazine for both Dalhousie and King's Universities. So welcome, everyone. I choose the challenge. Enjoy the event today. And now, Claudia Ferrero.
Thank you, Mayor Saunderson. This poem is called Women's Reply. Soon, all women are big-boned and stand side by side. Soon, their touching hips grow even wider than their smiles. Their hands, like tiny leaves on the trunks of their thighs, they only need to tap, and thunder will rise. They only need to stand, and space is made, only need to walk, and the ground will shake. Women open their mouths and watch history quake, take their place in the future, and watch all expectations break. Soon this will be, if we choose to challenge every day, if we choose to clear the bumps and biases blocking the way, if we refuse to get stuck in the gaps left by unequal wages, the fight to the right of our own bodies and a system that works to shame us. It's hard to make a difference when your differences are not accounted for. The game was never fair, the referee always justifying the score, conquering prejudice and governments built over time takes deep unconditioning. Luckily, all these years, we women have been listening. We hold the answers in our bodies, the ones they talk so much about, the ones that make the world go round, that give it life and wear the crown. the hands that lay on the Bible and become inaugurated, the voices that boom all the louder for how long they have waited, the legs that shake but still stand up in the names of truth and justice, the feet that walk ahead and clear a path we all can trust in. Because we are not choosing the same man-made path as before, we have witnessed how it leads to so many closed doors. We have seen that power that is held so close to the chest is not used to build up, but used to repress. Instead, we are choosing a path as difficult as it is wide, gaining a power so potent it doesn't need to be divided and denied or tied to our pride. This power will be in endless supply, a well whose water, once drunk, only multiplies, just like the women who birthed it, standing side by side, tied to their ancestors and all that they have provided. A reason to rise, a refusal to hide, a choice to challenge what we have been told all of our lives we were listening. Now, hear our thunderous reply. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Wow, that was moving and amazing. So let's all just take a nice deep breath into that. I loved so much imagery and that we hold the answers in our bodies. And I think that to be very true. And so welcome everyone. We are excited to be gathering today. And we have almost 200 of us here today. And so what I want to encourage you to do, one of the things that's really important is that we're literally here to show up, right? This is International Women's Day. I want to welcome the men and women joining us, right? We need everybody. And so roundabout, when I scroll through the gallery view, roundabout page 3, you all stop dropping off video. So I'm going to challenge you to actually show up and unclick yourself and actually get on video, because we really want to be able to show up for all of the speakers who are here today, for all of you. And we're going to have a question and answer later after we hear from all of our panelists, and we want to be able to see you. So that's one of my choose to challenge today. I wanted to start by just thanking you for being here. The organizing committee, the sponsors, the presenters, everybody has just been blown away by the response. As Mayor Saunderson said, we are excited to have our Jordanian sisters here to present, and it's been a delight getting to know them. So we have a really diverse group, and so I think makes this even more exciting. So there are some things that we need to cover that are really kind of logistics that I want to make sure we have the best experience possible here. And so my job is kind of to move everybody along, and I want to make sure that you have everything you need to be able to do that. So first and foremost, we are recording this. You will see at the top left-hand corner, there's a recording happening so that this can be viewed at other times. So we'll be doing all of the pieces of this presentation today, except for the question and answer. So just note that we'll be turning it off during that time so we can have a really open and frank discussion on whatever comes up. As far as the format goes, so I'm going to introduce each speaker, and we'll be pretty brief because all of you have their bios. You can capture them anywhere on the web. They're all out there. And so we want to spend less time on that and more time on giving them their full 5 minutes to actually talk about their story and to talk about the ways in which they're choosing to challenge. This year's International Women's Day for 2021, this year is all about #ChooseToChallenge. And so I would love for you to be thinking about, as you hear the speakers speak, as you hear some of maybe even the question and answer period, what is it that you're choosing to challenge this year? So for me, I am choosing to challenge giving women more positive visibility. And so in my business and in my world, I actually do this a fair bit. And the place that I really want to challenge myself is to be much more aware and conscious of giving Black, Indigenous, and people of color more visibility. So that's a place that I'm choosing to challenge in 2021. You will all have your own. We want you to make it personal and something that you can actually do. This is not about solving the entire world challenge of inequity. It is about what's the thing that you can do. And you'll be hearing great ideas from our presenters, all of whom I've had a chance to talk to. I'm really excited for you to hear them all. As far as the next step goes, we are going to actually do a group photo. And so here's what we'd really love. If you could please go to gallery view and click your video so you're actually live and active on video. And one of the things that's really important that is really easy, but we just want to make sure you do it so we can see your hand, is the Choose to Challenge pose this year is your hand up. So it's like, I'm choosing to challenge. We don't want hands off because we can't see your hands, or like this because we can't see your face. So the big technical thing today is put it beside you. Make sure it's in your camera view so we can see it. And on 3, that's 1, 2, 3. Yay! So we are going to, with no further ado, start jumping in. And we're going to have, I'm going to do quick intros. We are going to have 5 minutes for each of our awesome speakers to speak. And then we're going to go on to the next speaker. So we're going to go through all of our speakers at once. So please take notes. Feel free to put in the chat something that's inspired you, something that's made you think, kudos, whatever it is, to keep this interactive. And then at the end of all of the panelists, we'll move into our Q&A. We'll stop recording and I'll tell you what we'll do at that point. So I'm going to move on to introducing our first speaker to get us launched, because that's why you're here. And so our first speaker is sponsored by Devonley Homes, and it's Amalia Ortuño. And Amalia Ortuño is somebody who is an amazing woman who's from Costa Rica joining us. She was an athlete all of her life, and actually a triathlete. And then in her early adult years, had some challenges with a degenerative disease that actually meant that she couldn't participate in the sports competitively like she used to. And so clearly she rallied and got into CrossFit, and is now, last year was the world champion for seated CrossFit competition. So she's pretty amazing. I'm looking forward to hearing her story and how she's choosing to challenge. And so I will turn it over to you, Amalia.
Hi, everyone. So here's my story. It's been a while since everything has changed, but you know what? I don't regret anything that has happened. Hi, today I'm not here to report that I do or how I do it exactly. Today I want to tell you about how I learned to smile and challenges. Always have the opportunity to learn all the good things life throws us. No matter how hard it seems to be, there's always something to learn. 5 years, to be more exact, 5 years since everything in my life changed. That perfect and amazing life that I had, where being an athlete was one of the most important things I had, where I just got married and developing my interior design company was another big hit, to be more exact. I had everything I always wanted in my life, to be as happy as I always dreamed. But suddenly, in a blink of my eyes, everything changed unexpectedly. What I thought would be a minor thing, visit to the doctor, ended up being my life-changing time. You have a genetic born disease, he said. It's a degenerative problem in your hips. What does that mean? What was going to happen from now on? Am I going to be able to walk again, play sports, have a family? So many questions in my head and no answers to them. Your athlete life has just finished and new challenges for your life are just about to start, was the only thing the doctor told me. But one day someone told me, you know, life is like dancing. You have to learn how to dance with it, learn to take its rhythm, but most important, never let life step on your feet. You always have to be very aware at what it throws and be a step ahead of it. After very hard times of treatments, surgeries, recovery, and depression, where I have to accept and learn my life will no longer be the same, I decided to get on the dancing stage and learn to dance with my life. I was a dancer since I was 2 years old, so why not take another chance and make a new dance? Maybe good things can happen. And it was right at that moment that I decided to fight again and look for my new purpose. Since then, everything changed. It's amazing how a good attitude can make you see things different. Yes, I had to accept new things, like that I had to do things different as I was used to was okay. That using crutches for my everyday life was my new normal, or that I needed a wheelchair as part of my life now. But that wouldn't stop me from doing what I loved, or stop me from dreaming as big as I always did before. And because of that, I found deep inside of me a strength I never had before, where my need to fight for my goals were more powerful, where proving myself I can do it became more and more ambitious, and that limits does not exist. And suddenly that became my new purpose for life. In this life, we have a lot of positive and a lot of negative things. And most of the time, when something doesn't go as we plan, we choose to take negative things as our only option because it's the easiest way to have. But you know what? There's something you need to know. And it is that if you decide to keep fighting, you will find a whole new world of opportunities, goals, challenges, and dreams. Because obviously it's not that easy, and most people will not accept to get out of their comfort zone to face new challenges in order to meet that whole new world. I decided to go for it, and that happened. Things that I'm sure I would never achieve in other circles I love the most. Playing new sports, competing at what amazes me the most, winning a competition. And not only any competition, a world championship competition. That's what every competitive athlete, all of this keeps amazing me day to day. It makes me find the purpose I needed again for my life. What I love the most of all of this is, and the hard process, is looking so many people getting inspired by what I do and accomplish goals, because it's true what we're capable of too. And if I can be the role model for my example, I'm more than happy. That's mission accomplished. So today, I want all of you to think of all those things life throws us. Learn to dance with them and give them 180 turn, and take all of them and learn from what they will teach us, because there's nothing more satisfying and grateful than smiling to life, achieving dreams, and prove yourself what you're capable of. And that's how I decided that I'm never giving up.
Thank you, Amalia. Here's the thing about technology. We love it, and sometimes it's a bit of a challenge. So I think we all caught probably a good 75% of what you said. And even in that 75%, it was profound. So what I heard was learn to dance with myself, which it sounded like at the end, you were choosing all of us to learn to dance with ourselves in a new way that really pushes us to be bigger and better and to never give up. So thank you for that. That was brilliant. So we're going to move on to Anisha Benzdira, and I had an opportunity to talk to Anisha last week, and this dynamo 17-year-old who's going to be talking to us doesn't seem like she should have time for high school, yet she's finishing her high school career, and she has also got a podcast that's called In Your Skin. And Anisha's passion is all around anti-racism and gender equity and causes that are just really close to her heart, and she puts her money where her mouth is. So Anisha, take it away.
Thank you, Jill, and hello to everybody. I'm Anisha, and this is my story. So I grew up in Hamilton for the first 8 years of my life, which is a highly multicultural area that never lacks diversity. Being different in Hamilton is a normality, which is unlike our own community, being that it's a predominantly white one. And so transitioning from one area to another made me subliminally recognize my differences against my friends, my peers, my teachers, and my community members. Because of this, I started to experience racist conflicts in Collingwood. I didn't completely understand racism to begin with, which made confronting these issues difficult. I thought racism was just the basis of slavery, but as an 8-year-old, slavery was, well, pretty outdated. And so all the while I was experiencing racism, it blew right over my head. In addition to the racist remarks, I had a really hard time embracing my physical appearance. I obviously grew up with darker skin than all of my friends and hair much larger than their pin straight hair that I idolized. I wanted so desperately to have that westernized white appearance. I wanted to fit in. And unfortunately, this insecurity stemmed from the false beauty ideals about women, but more specifically, Black women. Our hair is considered nappy, our skin is ashy, our look is exotic. And nowhere in that description was the word normal. I begged to perm my hair straight and lighten it. And a few summers ago, I had this really odd idea that if I lathered up so much sunscreen, I wouldn't get any darker. I tried everything to look like the women around me. I tried everything to not look like me. Next slide, please, Tyler. I did this because the beauty ideals that were represented around me growing up did not reflect my physical appearance in the slightest. And so I felt like an outcast. I felt alienated and I struggled with body image, all because of the false perceptions developed around the double minority, women of color. Fast forwarding to May 2020, I was 17 in grade 11 and still felt this huge void within myself, a void seeking fulfillment. Perhaps it was the lack of confidence I had within my identity, yet nothing I ever did seemed to fill this void. Over the years, although I started to associate with white culture more so over Black, I felt a calling with the Black Lives Matter movement. With the stories in constant circulation on the internet, I felt a similarity to all these women who had spoken out about their shared experiences, and for once, this is where I felt like I belong. At this moment, I realized maybe, just maybe, I'd been trying to uphold unattainable racist beauty standards for the past 9 years of my life. And so with that, I chose to challenge my experiences, and I did this by speaking out about them at the Collingwood rally on June 11th of 2020. Next slide, please. Although difficult, finally embracing my identity filled the missing piece within me. This void was not my lack of white features, it was the lack of self-love I had for my own ethnicity. I will now jump at any opportunity to further educate myself and others, because that is the only way that racist gender perceptions can be diminished. With that being said, since I had chosen to challenge during last year's gathering, I've been blessed to further push my passion of advocacy through many projects, and hopefully with this, inspire other individuals to choose to challenge. A few of my highlights being, I've since presented my Black Lives Matter speech to the entire national team of Google Canada for their Global Day of Reflection, which was a crazy experience I still can't seem to shake. I have my own podcast, which Jill mentioned, thanks to the Collingwood Youth Center, who shares their amazing space with me. My podcast, In Your Skin, encompasses racial struggles shared from various guests within our community, providing their educating perspective. And last but not least, I'm here today. And I can't say I would have been here right now or on this crazy journey at all if I had not pushed myself to do so. It's funny how one moment can lead you in a complete opposite direction. And I have to say, speaking in that gathering was that moment for me. It was the moment I stepped out of my comfort zone. It was the moment I dropped my barriers. And it was the moment I chose to challenge myself. And for that, I'm forever grateful. And with that being said, thank you so much, everybody, for listening to my story here today. And as I continue on my journey next year off to university, I can promise that my advocacy is not over. And I hope to encourage others to choose to challenge themselves along the way. Thank you.
Hey, Anisha. So that's quite a journey. And I love your message of ultimately when you looked at what was holding you back, it's really about choosing to challenge yourself. And I think that's going to ring true for a number of us here, because ultimately that is what it is about. And so way to go. And we look forward to seeing the next part of your journey. We are going to move on to Ashley Lougheed, who is sponsored by Eager Burger Services. And Ashley is the founder of Girl Time Inc. And she is, which is a social club for everyday women. And when Ashley and I were talking, her mission really is to create community, and something she'll probably talk a little about in Akula. And then we talked about some of the words that really are the foundation of why Ashley does what she does. So she talked about celebration, connection, charity. And then we also talked about another very important word. It's a C word also, but it's a little tricky because it's got a sh sound, and it's champagne. So Ashley has events that often have champagne. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about your journey, Ashley, and what you're choosing to challenge. So take it away.
Thank you, Jill, and to the International Women's Day panel organizers and all those who are here today. Hello, everyone. My name is Miss Ashley Lahid, and I am just beyond honored to be here with all of you. I choose to challenge ourselves to own our value, to defy our doubts, and to stand collectively in our power and with our voices. When women rise, we all rise, and we can do this with true belonging. I choose to seek out and celebrate women's achievements. Together, we can help each other create an inclusive world. From challenge comes change, and that is why I'm here today. I choose to challenge and create a change that sees the rise of community, connections, and collaborations as the new wave of belonging to a united and diverse sisterhood. I will stand beside you in my power and encourage you to do the same. We rise when we lift each other. The most common way that people give up their power is by thinking that they don't have any. According to Alice Walker, own your power and challenge other women when they disempower themselves. So the aspiration stat is simple. The culture of being busy, mix in with COVID-19, separation, mental health issues, everything from overloading female roles. This is leaving us feeling disconnected, lost, disempowered, overwhelmed, alone, in burnout, feelings of not being good enough, as well as mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausted. This is where the solution comes in. And for me, the solution is Kula. Kula is everything that Girl Time Inc. stands for and encompasses. And today it aligns beautifully with the International Women's Day theme. Kula is a Sanskrit word, so when translated, it means a community of influential, widespread, and legendary goddesses who come together and celebrate inclusivity and the sense of belonging. Today, this panel of women is a perfect example of Kula. This is my daughter, and she is my biggest why, my strongest why when creating Girl Time Inc. It is her future of inclusion, belonging, self-love, acceptance, and value that drives me further to build a strong community for her and all the young children around us. A community where she will find her Kula as her true authentic self and stand proudly in her own light. She will stand with a strong voice and know that she is more than enough. She'll be able to do this because I will show her how, by being a strong and driven role model who creates a movement that is sole focus is celebration, elevation, and actively lifting one another up. I know these above feelings, for I have experienced them my whole life and in every phase that I've lived. These feelings break down self-esteem. They leave people feeling that they are in doubt. My purpose is to help the rise, and it is through coming together that helps that. It literally is a story that we all share. This is our Kula, and I challenge you to surround yourself with like-minded women who will fill up your cup with love and support and inspiration and acceptance, as it will breathe life back into you. Coming together is how we shine our bright lights and become the leaders that our sisterhood, our community, and most importantly, our children all need. When we elevate our community, we elevate each other. It is the understanding that the love of one is the love of all, and that we can measure our success in part by how we help each other out. It is collaboration over competition that will break the glass ceilings and the aspiration status symbols and truly build a strong foundation for ourselves as women, for our community, and for our future generations. Women who support women are more successful. Girl Time Inc. is the connecting link, and it is the action takers that will achieve this collective goal of inclusivity, diversity, and belonging. It is a kula for women and women in business who are looking for that place to belong, to meet and develop new friendships, to collaborate, live a healthy and active lifestyle, to grow individually through inspirational gatherings, as well as net giving opportunities. My why is your why, and the why of the International Women's Day movement. It is for our future and theirs. So ladies, it is time to connect and celebrate the rise of women as a collective vibration that is fueled with love and compassion, bravery and greatness, empowerment, and the readiness to thrive. I choose to challenge and create this change because she is watching me pave the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashley. So the soul-focused elevation is what I heard. So it's one of the big messages, and I think especially relevant this last year because I think we're all in a place of kind of done with lockdowns and COVID and all of the things that have been created. And so being able to surround ourselves with like-minded women who help fill our cup, who let us know that we're not insane when we have wild ideas or when we feel like we can't handle life some days, and who also really stand with us and elevate us. So thank you for that. I love that. Kula, it's beautiful. And so I'm gonna do an ask for the remaining speakers. We have simultaneous translation. And for those of us who speak a little more quickly, and I know in 5 minutes, there's not a lot of time, we might be going a little quicker. And so the translators just asked if we could slow down a little bit so they can actually get the full translation out. So I just ask you to breathe occasionally, just take a breath. And if we need to go over a little to accommodate that, that's important because we want all of our people to hear. All right, so we're gonna move on to Hadil Hassame, and Hadil is an amazing woman I just met last week who is the Deputy Director of Project Implementation. She's part of the Jordan Municipal Support Program. What I love about you, Hadil, is your bio is so interesting. One of your passions you talked about is supporting young women leaders and to let them know that they can lead. And specifically, you talked about being an advocate and a defender. And then I saw in your bio that you are a human rights lawyer. So that makes a lot of sense. So we're looking so forward to hearing about your story and about where you choose to challenge, and take it away.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Collingwood, for hosting me today. And before I start, I would like to wish all women in the world a happy International Women's Day. I would like to share my story and how I chose to challenge by changing all challenges to opportunities. I wasn't stopped by challenges. I managed to change challenges to opportunities. I want to share a situation that shaped my personality and affected me. When I was at school, at the drama class, they asked us to have a play on rights and freedoms. I was so enthusiastic at the time together with my schoolmate, and we decided to have a play on rights and freedoms and ask for more rights and freedoms from the school administration. We wrote the play. I stood up at the stage to present the play. When I was speaking on stage, I was looking at the facial gestures of the school administration and the male and the female teachers, how they were very upset. If you know Tom and Jerry, when Tom has smoke coming out from his ears, this is exactly how the faces looked like among the administration. Whereas the 700 students who applauded me, they were happy with me. At the same time, people were pulling me from my shirt and asking me to stop speaking. At the time, I didn't know what was happening, what was going on. I continued talking until a teacher came out and asked me to stop, and she silenced me. She came to me, she approached me, this teacher, and asked me to apologize to the administration and the teachers, otherwise they would dismiss me from school and would tell my parents what happened. At the time, I was 12 years old and I was afraid that they would tell my dad from their perspective. I didn't know what they would tell my dad from their perspective. So I went, I apologized without knowing what happened. I went home and I was a bit upset. My dad was a judge. I decided to share the story with him. I told him what happened with me on that day. He asked me if I exceeded the limit. He asked me if I offended anybody with what I said. When I told him no, he told me that I talked about things I believed in, and I shouldn't apologize if I talk about things I believe in. And what I believe in is beliefs and values that I should stick to throughout my life. Days passed and I always found myself standing in front of people, speaking and defending everyone who has little opportunity in life, or the marginalized in life, or even colleagues at work, at school, who couldn't make it, who couldn't speak up. And I studied human rights at university because this is in my blood. My passion in life is to express other people's opinions and defend their rights. I continued talking, speaking up, regardless of the place I existed in, as long as I respect people and I don't offend people and I respect different opinions. I didn't know that I was doing something special until a lady approached me one day and she said she found a role model in me, and one day she hopes to be like me, to speak up without hesitation, without fear. That day affected me a lot, and it made me talk to the lady. I talked to her. I gave her a tip similar to the one my dad gave me. After some time, I was so happy when I saw her stand before her mayor, and she led a campaign with women in her area asking for better services to her area. Ever since I accepted the challenge, I accepted that I should challenge, I should share my knowledge, my experience with the others, with women in particular, because women unfortunately have always been marginalized. I always try to support women, girls, young people in my surrounding. I always say I should use my voice, which is very important for me as a lawyer, even by saying thank you to the people surrounding me. I always feel proud when I see women who passed in my life and I gave them advice, mentoring, guidance, whether female counselors or even female MPs or young people who are leading foundations and organizations and they are successful at what they do. I gave them mentoring guidance. Some of them, to be honest, might not have accepted the advice and guidance, but throughout the years I saw that they took my advice into consideration. When they say thank you, I feel that I succeeded. My dad was supportive of me when I was young, and I still, his words still echo in my ears. I found many difficulties in my career life. People supported me. Maybe the words the people gave to me were not nice, were a bit harsh, but I accepted the other people's opinions. I learned to accept the different opinions. I accepted to speak up my mind regardless of the situation, as long as I am convinced I shouldn't remain silent. I should only remain silent when I choose to do so, and I rarely do this. I should always speak up and express how I feel. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to those who supported me. Thank you for FCM, Federation of Canadian Municipalities.
Lots of these. Yay, Hadil. Kudos to the translators. You're doing a brilliant job. I can hear the passion in Hadil's voice. I'm imagining she was talking quickly and we got everything in English. So thank you for that. What an amazing story. And I love that your dad, spoke to you in a very real way at that age to say, it's okay to believe what you believe and then to take a stand for it. It won't be easy. But I think we can all relate here is how can we take a stand for something that won't necessarily be easy and it's the right thing to do. So thank you for being a beacon for that. And I love that you had somebody come to you that said, you are a role model. And so for everybody here, there are people in your world who are saying that about you, whether you know it or not. And so tap into what is it that I'm role modeling, because you're already doing some things really brilliantly in the world. So keep doing those. So thank you, Hadil. We are going to move on to our second Jordanian speaker today, who I'm really excited for you to hear. She has a wonderful story. I got more time with her than you'll have, which was a real blessing. So Hiam Al-Kaisi just has an amazing story of her father being an immigrant from Palestine and coming to Jordan, and just what the journey was like, especially as a young woman at the time. And so I think she'll probably share some of that with you. She comes from a very large family and has really done amazing things, everything from becoming elected as a counselor fairly recently in her region, which is amazing, to supporting the setup of a business in order to help women get jobs and be able to support women going to work who needed their children taken care of. She's just a real all-around amazing thinker and leader. So I'm looking forward to you hearing her story. Hiam, take it away.
God's peace, blessings, and mercy be upon you. I am Hiam Qaisi, counselor from Shihan municipality in the south of Jordan. It's a great honor to be amongst you on this beautiful day. I wish you a happy International Women's Day. I am the daughter of that struggling man, the self-made man who, due to the occupation of Palestine by the Jews, couldn't stay in his homeland and enjoy its blessings. He started in Jordan from below zero. He helped us. We are an extended family. We are talking about 14 siblings. Thank God we helped our dad in taking care of the livestock and harvesting the lands in his trade until we got postgraduate and graduate degrees, and I managed to graduate from university in the capital, Amman. I got my BA degree in 3 years, and I came back to work for the Ministry of Education to struggle in those schools in the early 1980s, in 1983, 1984. And at this time, there was some confusion in the ideology because of the communist ideology attack on our schools. There was some deviation from our principles because they deviated from the principles of Islam, principles of tolerance and ethics. I managed to raise a generation of many students, girls who carried the science knowledge and the right ideology. Together with education, I carried out extracurricular activities, school radio, the students' council. I trained them on poetry, storytelling, and I even directed a play, and it won a prize at the level of the kingdom. After 15 years in the education career, I had to retire because I had to stay with my kids, with my children. I have 5 children, thank God. I opted for voluntary work. As our facilitator said, I started some cultural centers that helped take care of kids at KG1 and KG2. And I managed to start some or create some job opportunities. After this work, my political party nominated me to run for municipal elections, and I faced some challenges, some obstacles that I managed to control and mitigate. First, there was the grassroots support. Whenever you run for office, you are elected by your grassroots and constituents, and we're talking about tribal communities. Thank God, my ideological foundation and my students who liked the teacher who provided her students with knowledge and with will, who supported her students. My house has always been open to my female students who visited me after school hours. The second thing, there was a challenge for this dress, this face veil. How can a woman with this dress to be among women, among men in the municipality? How can she go to the field? How can she start projects in the municipality? I proved it to all that the dress is always a formality. It's the tongue, the mind that can communicate the message. It's key for people. It's not how we look like. It's not our color. Right, Anisha? The other thing is that there was a problem. You're a mother and you have kids. In our community, mothers should be at home with their kids, but I had some support from the community. I had support from my husband, who is an Arabic language teacher like me. My family was understanding. My kids shared responsibility and put up with my absence because I had to give lectures in the north and the south of the governorate. I was absent for hours, and I find that my kids shared the responsibility of the house with their dad. I have 5 kids, 3 engineers, a doctor, and an accountant. As a matter of fact, we shouldn't stop at a certain stage. Ambition doesn't stop. You should always do something good. I ran for Shihan Municipal Council and I won the seat in this beautiful municipality, and I was surprised to find that most of the employees are my students. The male staff are the kids of or the brothers of my students. In the council, we had harmony. Our goal is to serve the community. Our goal is not to disagree. My goal, my objective, my lifestyle, what I believed in is that God loves it when someone does a job to be good at it, which is a prophetic saying. I always want, if I pass away one day, I'll pass away when I gave my knowledge and experience to others. I attended many training courses which shaped my personality. Thank God, I feel that I succeeded in attaining my goals, in building my community, in building the bridges of love. I managed to serve my community in different ways. Thank you, and thank you, Jordan Municipal Support Project, to give me the opportunity to be among those beautiful women. Thank you, Collingwood, for hosting us today. Thank you, and thank you to my family that supported me, and thank you to my community, which gave me trust and confidence.
Well done. Well said, Hyam. So to give some context, just to remind you, early 80s was, a good 30-ish years ago. For those of us north of 50, that's a long time ago too. So the kinds of things that you had been able to achieve, Hyam, is just, pretty exceptional. And the fact that in your retirement, I think you called it, that you are now an elected councillor and you still are doing this volunteer work that's bringing economic benefits and raising women up, really is to be applauded. And so thank you. Thank you for being here. We are going to move on to Jillian Morris, who's sponsored by the Collingwood Foundry. And Jillian is a Mohawk band member from Six Nations, Grand River. And she spent 13 years with Department of National Defense. She co-chaired the Defense Aboriginal Advisory Board. She has tons of, if you look at her bio, tons of amazing experience, and is obviously really committed, especially in the last few years, to Indigenous-led initiatives. And so when we were talking, I was asking Jillian, what's something that the group, would be great to know about you that isn't in your bio. And first thing she said right away was, I am an avid story connoisseur. And we had a little bit of a conversation about her roots and her culture and how important story is and the oral tradition. And so I am going to turn it over to Jillian, who last time I saw her had a background where she was floating in the mountains. So we can all enjoy that. Jillian, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Jill. Sego Buego. Hello, everyone. I am so humbled to be here. This is a lot to follow, to be honest, but I feel really grateful. So I choose to challenge, and I choose to challenge the rhetoric. And I encourage others to challenge the rhetoric. As a society, I think we've kind of manifested this environment where we're afraid to say too much, we're afraid to say too little. So when I first saw the hashtag Choose to Challenge, I saw it as a call to action. And so to move beyond the rhetoric and choose to find ways to build like real momentum. And I am here today because I saw this as an opportunity to take some action. I owe it to the women who came before me, who through performance, through doing, have reminded us over and over again that women belong in all spaces of society. My ancestors were storytellers, and it is by way of sacrifice, civil disobedience, resistance, that they were able to preserve and protect our culture and that oral tradition. I carry and I will pass down stories that have been told by my people for countless generations. Yes, my ancestors acted to obstruct change in this instance, but ultimately to oppose domination of a worldview that just could not be reconciled with our own. We as Indigenous people are busy trying to reclaim and rebuild, and it is their fight that has given us a really good foundation. So historically, our women were valued as leaders, as teachers, as mentors, and held in high regard, honoring the sacred role as life bearers. I come from a matriarchal society. My nation and my clan, they're passed down through my mother. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy, our traditional form of governance, is made up of chiefs and clan mothers. And it is the clan mothers who choose the chiefs, and it is the clan mothers who uphold the chiefs' responsibility, their moral obligations. And in decision making, guess who is the last to have the last word? It is women. It is the clan mothers. And so in our creation story, the first person on earth was a woman. It was Sky Woman. And after she was carried down by the birds, carefully placed on the back of the turtle, she was pregnant already with a daughter. And later on, her daughter became pregnant by the west winds. And she died during childbirth, giving birth to her twin sons. And on her grave grew 3 food medicines. They're the 3 sisters, corn, beans, and squash. And the 3 sisters thrive when planted together. They yield the best results and become a nutritional powerhouse. The beans produce nitrogen, which the corn needs to grow, and the corn stalk allows the beans to climb up and get access to the sunlight it needs. And the squash creates a ground cover that protects from disruptive invaders like weeds. And so in story, this is a relationship built on reciprocity and mutual benefit. But in story, a lot of times these 3 plant medicines get turned into 3 women, right? They're different in size, they're different in shape, they're different in the way they're adorned, what they need and what they have to offer. But they're similar in that they carry the gifts of Mother Earth. They want to nurture, they want to nourish, they want to provide, and they carry that same unconditional love. The differences do not divide. The differences create more opportunity for growth and to reach their full potential. So this kind of relationship allowed the 3 sisters to uplift and support one another, and in so enhancing each of their gifts. There is no need or desire for competition. We all have gifts, talents, and strengths, and they're all different, they vary, and that is good. Balance is possible when we allow people to take their rightful place in our communities. So these are very shortened versions of much larger stories, but maybe my sharing today has intrigued people enough to want to learn and hear more. And if that's the case, even for one person here, then my action today had purpose. And so I'm sitting here, I'm trying to suppress fear and the discomfort. It's not easy for me to feel so exposed, but I believe that I have more than a right to be here. I believe I have an inherent responsibility. My great-great-great-great-grandmother, 7 generations ago, she dreamed about me. She loved me. And she lived with me in mind. And I I am very committed to carrying on that same tradition. So I do this for her and all the women that came before me, and I do this for my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren ×4. And I choose to represent more than the rhetoric. So that's it. Thank you so much.
That was beautiful, Jillian. And the emotion that came through is real, which is why we're here. This is why we have a space and a safe space to do that. That's what gathering is about. And that's what celebration is about. And I love your challenge and that you chose to represent that today. So thank you for that. And I look so forward to learning more about, I have some learning of the three sisters. I would love to know more. So here's one. I'm sure there are others. So thank you for that. Miigwech. So with that, we are going to move into our next speaker. And Catherine Vanderbilt is born in Canada, currently resides in Florida, and her parents are in Collingwood, so she has a connection. And we had a great conversation about what it's been like to be in the US over the last number of years, in particular the last year. So I'm not sure if she'll talk about that. She did say she was very thankful for being Canadian and what Canadian perspective brings. One of the things that she has a real passion for is the coming up with new and better ways to provide access to medical solutions. And so when I was talking to Catherine, you'll get a sense of she's a big thinker in terms of how do we get all of the right people at the table and make it accessible as opposed to inaccessible and difficult, which is often what it is. And so Catherine, we'll look forward to hearing about what you're going to talk about today and your Choose to Challenge.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jill. It is a privilege to be here today, and I really appreciate the opportunity. So as a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother-in-law, and a friend, I choose to challenge each day with the goal to make the workplace and the world a better place so we can all thrive. So the mindset I try to apply to handling or tackling challenge situations every day is to find the good or the positive or the opportunity as the events progress. So to provide a bit of context, I'll use a common expression that maybe most people know, some don't. Is the glass half empty or half full? That's a question we ask when we hear a situation may cause for pessimism, so the glass is half empty, or optimism if the glass is half full. The reality is, though, in any situation, it'll be seen in different ways by different people. And one point of view or our unconscious bias is different for everybody. So a point of view is our specific attitude or the manner in which we think. So here we have shapes that it's the same shape. Whoops. It's the same shape for everybody. It's a cylinder, but we have the person on the top. When this man looks down, he sees a circle. And the woman, when she looks at the shape, she sees a rectangle. So we have two separate people looking at the same shape, but they have two different points of view. That's how they think about it. Now, unconscious bias is another way that we think, but it's an instantaneous response that we encounter when we have something that's unfamiliar or unknown to us. And science has taught me that this unconscious response is our survival mechanism. And we deal with it when we get to this place that is unknown. And we respond first unconsciously, and then our conscious response comes second. So we need to figure out how to get this unconscious response, this unconscious bias, to come together with our conscious thinking. So let's do a quick exercise, okay? I want to acknowledge Dr. Megan Elor and colleagues for creating this. So we're going to close our eyes, take a deep breath. Now imagine you're going to go to a dinner party tonight, and I'm going to bring 5 guests to join you at a table. So one guest is going to be a single, extremely wealthy chief of pediatrics working at a major teaching hospital. The next 2 guests are going to be a couple with Japanese ancestry, and one of them is celebrating their 82nd birthday. The next guest is a world-class athlete that requires a wheelchair. And the final guest is a 45-year-old lawyer that works in a multinational corporation. Now open your eyes, take another deep breath, and keep all the images in your mind. So what kind of table did you visualize? I'm going to propose that it's a Japanese table because we're going to celebrate the 82nd birthday for the Japanese guest. Now let me tell you a little bit more about the dinner companions. The chief of pediatrics is a Black Canadian woman. The Japanese couple are two men. The lawyer is a female from the First Nations, and the athlete is a white male in a wheelchair. Did you imagine all of this? What kind of table did you think? What kind of people were you think you're going to sit with? Usually your reflections is based on your culture, your environment, and your past experiences. And that's okay. It's probably what I thought too, because you gravitate to what's familiar, calming, and reliable for you. But you need to guard against this when you're working, and you need to be open for new possibilities. So now I'm aware that my unconscious bias tends to trickle into every part of my life. So when I'm working, I need to be aware of that when I'm interviewing, onboarding, delegating work, and making promotions. And this can even influence my behavior when my conscious mind thinks that I'm treating everyone the same, but I'm really not. So now that I'm aware, I need my conscious to outsmart my unconscious. So here's 3 things I can do. I blind myself when I need to. So like when I'm reviewing resumes, I need to structure my decision-making. So when I'm creating project teams or making promotion decisions. And thirdly, I need to be really conscious. So I need to listen and learn from others like I am doing today. It's been fascinating, and examine my own behaviors. So through my travels, my job relocations, I've had the opportunity to experience the talent and diversity of this world has to offer. I've experienced firsthand what diversity can bring as the research of CEB Global and Talent Innovation has published. So I quote, firms with diverse leaders, employees report 60% more likely to see ideas develop, 75% more likely to see innovations implemented, 70% more likely to capture new markets, and 45% more likely to increase market share. Diversity means success and means more money. Therefore, I choose to challenge my reaction to the new and unfamiliar because having an inclusive mindset and attending to unconscious bias are needed to make the world to thrive. Thanks for the opportunity to share.
Thank you. And thank you for the exercise. That was great. I think a lot of us had some ahas on that exercise. So thank you for bringing that to us. And I love the messages and how you've linked it to the workplace. So brilliant job. Thank you for that. We are going to wrap our speakers portion with Sonia Skinner, who is sponsored by Royal Bank branch of Collingwood. And Sonia hails from Newfoundland, Labrador, one of my favorite places in Canada. I love it. Her background is actually as an engineer. And when you look at her bio, you will see that's by training. Her career is very much in administration and bringing that to bear in all kinds of interesting, diverse places. And she's also a person who fly fishes. So Sonia has some interesting hobby skills, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about what you have to say in terms of your Choose to Challenge and your story. So take it away.
Thank you, Jill. I am honored to speak. I was honored before, but now that I've heard the other speakers, I'm even more honored to speak. And I'm pretty lucky with the theme of this year because I have throughout my life pretty much always had the confidence to and a fondness even for speaking up. I hope, like many of you, I believe that I can do anything that any other sex could do. And I'll interrupt almost anyone if they use words like fireman or postman or start assuming the contractor that they haven't even met yet is a he. But as I moved through my career, those above me sometimes had critical comments. Or even things happened like they wanted to kiss me on the cheek while my engineer colleagues got a handshake. However, when I disagreed or thought that there was more to the situation, I didn't necessarily speak up. I was also the leader of a women in engineering group. My mostly male peers asked me why the women needed the special meetings, the trip to Toronto, the chance to meet executives. And after several years, I gave up participating in that group, and I internalized that equality didn't mean special treatment. And I was sure that with enough hard work and dedication, I would be successful in any case. And of course I didn't speak up. What would I be speaking up about? So before I go on, I need to give you a little bit of perspective. Firstly, I can recall only one incident in 30-some years of working where I think that someone understood that they were about to unfairly disadvantage me. And separately, I internalized some advice from my very loving, very supportive parents. And they said, if someone criticizes you, just ignore them. Over time, you will be able to demonstrate your character and you'll be able to demonstrate your competence. But I interpreted this as an opportunity at times to be silent and to wait for when I could demonstrate whatever was lacking. And thus, I have some choose to challenge learnings that I've had myself. It starts with challenging yourself. The very first person you have to convince that a handshake that would be better or that what you are seeing should change is you. It is only in your own heart that you will form what you need to say to bring your own passion, your gifts, and your voice to the world. And then I think about, in my choices to challenge, what makes it easier for me to speak. And I often refer back to an agreement in a book called The Four Agreements called Don't Make Assumptions. And what it means is to ask questions. And then I understand better if I need to challenge something and that I better understand where people are coming from. I say things like, did you mean to say that? Where is that coming from? And it's really helpful. And then I remember again why I have to speak. Because even though most people want to be and most people are good, just as the last speaker said, unconscious bias exists. You do have to tell your story, or you have to make a comment. And if people don't recognize what they're doing, they can't adjust. So in closing, I have a passion for public service. We are entrusted by councils and the public to provide them with balanced and informed recommendations to model inclusion, engagement, organizational excellence, and yes, to be nimble. As public servants, we can be. And my choice to challenge definitely influences my leadership style. I want to let people know they're being listened to, that I want them to be comfortable to give their best advice, even if it's been ignored before. And I embrace groups that bring people together, not to compare injustices, though there's always space for finding perspective and advice, but to build each other up, to encourage us all to add our voices to the dialogues, to use our gifts and follow our passions. And I hope that you will also choose to challenge every single person on the 5 or 6 pages that are listening right now, remembering that you are an amazing person and that in challenging yourself, you can bring your voice even more clearly and bring about even more good. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. So what I heard there was a phrase that I remember I learned years ago that in my leadership training that said, silence will be interpreted. And so for women, we will often say, well, let my work speak for itself. And then when it doesn't, we say, well, what happened? I did a great job. I did as good or better a job, right? And then I didn't necessarily either self-promote or speak up. So I heard you saying, there's a balance of actually then speaking up, and also you have this philosophy, it sounds like, in your leadership of asking questions and listening so people actually feel heard, even if they haven't before. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we have had our 8 speakers with different and yet similar themes, and yet delivered in different ways. And everybody bringing their backgrounds and their experience to bear. And so we're going to move into the question and answer period, which means that we're going to stop recording and start asking you all for some questions. Well, we're coming to the end as we've just finished our question and answer period that was absolutely amazing. We had some incredible questions from our participants, and I loved the answers and the passion and obviously the commitment of the panelists with their Choose to Challenge. So we're hoping that you're all thinking about what you're choosing to challenge and to keep that going, because that's one of the biggest parts of hosting this event. It has been an amazing experience to have such an international group, such a diverse group of women speaking. I know everybody has got so much out of it. So I want to just end by saying thank you to all of our panelists for being here. Thank you to the Town of Collingwood and Mayor Saunderson for putting this all together. I know staff and everyone, it took a lot of people to make this happen, and you did an incredible job. To our poet laureate who opened, Claudia Ferrero, with that incredible poem that I really hope we get to post somewhere because it's so beautiful. To the people, all of the people and collaborators who put together This Ain't a House, that incredible song that was all about fundraiser for my friend's house and just captured so beautifully the struggle of domestic violence and for women and children and the role that we can play. So Galentine's did a great job putting together all of the boxes. The boxes sold out. Jen Schulte's team sponsored that. So if you want to make a donation, please go directly to my friend's house site. You can do it really easily. And Shipyard Kitchen Party also has a site that's doing a fundraiser that I'll be donating to. It also goes direct to all of to my friend's house. So there's lots of ways that you can support. We also want to thank all of the sponsors that were mentioned throughout who really made it possible for us to host this today, to have simultaneous translation, to just, this is a production to put this on, even though it's virtual. So we thank all of you for showing up, for being here with us, over 200 strong. We so appreciate you being here, and we're looking forward to choosing to challenge all through 2021, and we're going to see you in 2022. Have a great year ahead.